Well, we're going to talk about coffee today. This is my Aillo bullet. I can do 1 pound of coffee, roasted coffee, in this baby right here. So what we're going to do is get started. What happens with the coffee roaster is that you got to get it up to temperature. So as it turns on, we'll go through a test pattern.
The bullet is now ready.
So what we want to do is we want to preheat our drum. Inside here is a rotating drum where the coffee beans are in and they rotate just so it passes through air and they get an even keel of a roast. So what we're going to do now is preheat.
Preheating.
Now what will happen is that this will preheat the roasting drum. It's probably going to take, I don't know, 8 minutes or so. So anyway, this will show me my temperature of the drum, and then when we dump the beans in there, we'll show you that later, this will show me what the bean temperature is. So we have a couple things that we're working with. So what I'm going to do is come back to you a little bit later. While we're getting ready for that, I use a little scale, because what I have to do is we have to measure the weight of our beans. So what I'll do here today is zero out my tare, and we're going to do an Ethiopian blend today. This is the Ethiopian green bean coffee that will turn into nice rich brown dark coffee beans. So what we do is we measure. I got 454 grams for those people that are on US scale. It's 1 pound. So we also have a computer system that tracks our roasting profiles that we do. So what I have to do here is I have to put in the weight, which I did, 454, and my temperature is 30 degrees Celsius today. And humidity is 41. So all those things factor into how the roast will, how the roast will mature. So we got our weights. We're waiting for this to get up to temperature. I normally dump, what we call a dump. I normally do that at around 270 degrees. And then from there, we run through the basic profile. We have some steps in here that we have to take as far as temperatures, fan speed, and then the heat. So we'll be back in a minute. Well, we're getting up to temperature speed. A couple things. This here is a cooling tray. Once we dump our roasted beans, we have to cool them down, get them cool as quickly as possible. This is our little hopper, and this will go into here, and then I'll dump the beans into here, which then go into the roasting chamber. You can see we're getting up to temp here. We're at 263. So when I get 275, 280 is usually when I dump the coffee beans. In case you're wondering, I get green coffee from a local distributor and from a couple other places in the US. So depending upon what origin, what country that we want to roast, I'll order the beans. Normally get 5 pounds of raw beans at a time, which obviously makes 5 pounds of coffee. So now we're up to we're at 269. We're getting close to dropping our load in there, if you will. $275. So I'm good. That's up to temp. So what we're going to do is dump our green beans in here.
Roasting has started.
You'll notice that the drum temperature is low because we just dumped the beans. The beans are at like 82 degrees Celsius. So now the temperature of the drum is going to start to rise. And you'll notice over here, if you can see it, is that these lines determine bean temperature, the roasting temperature, and the time it takes to increase the temperature. And we call that a rate of rise. So right now we're at 104 degrees. We're 50 seconds in. This happens to be your sight and your taster. You don't really taste it, you actually look at it. So as the beans get heated up, they start to transform. They start to go through a process of going from a green bean to a roasted bean. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So you can see now our temperatures are rising. The bean temperature is at 128. So what I'm looking for here is I want to get to 165 degrees, and then I'll adjust our heat and our airflow. So I'm at 136. Drum temperature's coming up. And what you can see here is the outer shell of the coffee bean as it starts to lose its moisture, expand, and the skin comes off. That's what we call chaff. So I'm at 150. And you can see here that was our rate of rise, temperature-wise. So everything works together. Airflow, heat, and time. So what's going to start happening here is we're going to get into you can see it's still green if you can see that. It's still green. It's going to go into what we call a mylar phase, which is going to be yellow to brown. We'll turn on our fan, because when you roast coffee, you got to get rid of the smoke. So I'm almost at 165. Change my temp. I lowered the heating just a little bit, and I'm increasing the fan speed. Together, they work together to roast the coffee beans. So now what I'm doing is I am watching this, making sure now you can see that the rate of rise is starting to decrease, meaning that we have less heat going into it, but we still have enough heat to get it roasted. So I'm at 310 right now. And if you notice, the coffee beans are starting to get a little brown. And that's what we call yellowing. And so what I do on my chart here is I say, all right, we're about 330, and I'll pin that saying that's when it started to yellow. You do this just in case you want to go back, change your roasting profile for your next bean roast. So we're at 178. I want to get to 190. 190, I'm going to change these fan speed on this. I'm at 181. I'm starting to get a lot of chaff in there, so what I got to do is pull out my little vacuum cleaner. And what we'll do is we'll suck that baby right out of there. You really don't want the chaff in the final product, but it won't hurt anybody. You can grind it up just like coffee, and you'll never know the difference. But anyway, we keep it clean by removing the chaff. So you can see I'm getting up to my next temperature point, which is 190. And time for a sip. So what I want to do now is I want to move my fan speed up, get more circulation. I'm getting even heat, and that air just moves all that heat around for the bean to roast. So 190 to 200, we're getting a lot of heat inside the bean. And the coffee bean is really it's a fruit, but the bean itself is the center of the cherry. And what happens now is that it's starting to release the moisture. And shortly you're going to start to hear some popping sounds. And that's when the bean's expanding and exploding in the shell. It may be hard to hear, but I'll let you know when. You can see the beans are starting to get brown, nice and chocolatey. We're at 198, so now I'm going to adjust these again once I hit. We're at 199. I'm going to move that up and move that down. And on our software, it marks the points of when we do all this. So heat, fan speed, temperature. So this is what we call first crack. That means the beans are now cracking, obviously. So then I mark it on our software that the beans start cracking at 6:35. Now what happens is that you want to get through first crack. That's where you really now have coffee. But you don't want to stop now. You want to get through that first crack, and then from there you can make some determination on whether you want to roast it more or have a nice medium roast. You can adjust that accordingly based on your taste and flavor that you want. So now I've got to adjust my speed again and my heat. And you can see my drum temperature is starting to decrease slowly. But I still have a lot of heat in here that's roasting the beans. Now you see we're really getting chocolatey, dark. Mind you, those beans are hot. But you should be able to see that it's starting to crack. And that's the bean expanding, the shell. And they are hot. So I'm putting more chaff in there. I'm going to clean that out. So what I like to do is I like to roast it. I like to roast my coffee through the first crack. And then I normally wait about 30 seconds until where I feel it needs to be dumped. Now the cracking is stopped, so I'm at 822. Normally for roasting is 8 minutes 30 seconds to 10 minutes is a good window to dump the beans. And I think we're ready to do that right now. Smells good, looks good. We're ready to go. So what we do here now is that we dump the beans.
Roasting finished. Now preheating.
And what will happen now is that the fans on the cooler will go until this cools down the beans. What I'm doing right now is I'm preheating it again for my next batch of beans that I'm going to put in. So that's why it's going back up. That's a good batch right there. When you roast coffee, there's a lot of senses. There's your touch, your smell, your look, your feel. It's a great experience. getting ready for the next one. I'm up to speed, up to temp, so now I can dump it while I'm getting this cooled down. My beans are cool. Now what I have to do is weigh the beans. We started out with 454 grams. The roasted beans loses the moisture, so it loses weight. I'm at 389 grams. And what I do is I go into my software and just tell it how much it weighs. And then what will happen is it'll come back and tell me that we lost 14% because of moisture. So that is basically a pound of roasted beans. This is a Ethiopian. This is the original home of coffee, where the bean was originally found. So that's my roast.